Hey guys, today I'll be talking about my top player for each AFL side. My top young player who I think which young player will have a breakout season. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So with Adelaide, I think their breakout young player will be Sam Berry. Now you could argue he's already had a pretty good 2022 season, but he's going to have an even better 2023 season and take it to the next level. This kid is something extraordinary, and yeah, he'll be very, very good for the Crows and a side that's trying to push up the ladder. Um, and now for Brisbane, I can't really give it to Will Ashcroft. He hasn't even debuted yet, so I think I have to give it to someone else more efficiently, and I think that will be Darcy Wilmot. I think he'll crack into the side. He played a few games in the final series for the Lions last season, and I reckon he'll have a pretty consistent season, being in for most of the season, I reckon. And yeah, if he doesn't put up any injuries, he could have a chance at winning that Rising Star, that's for sure. Um, now for Carlton, this one was a little bit more tricky, but I've gone with Jesse Motlop, and now he probably will have a breakout season, but it's hard to say. But yeah, he's in amongst a pretty strong Carlton forward line, and yeah, if he wants to have a good season, he's got to be kicking 2 goals a game, really, and yeah, big test for him if he plays on the Thursday night clash against Richmond. It'll be very, very intriguing to see how he goes. But yeah, just got to hope for the best for the young kid. Now for Collingwood, I guess this one was a little bit tougher in a way. Seeming most of our young players kind of had a breakout season last season, so it was kind of tough, really. But I'm going with Billy Frampton. I know he hasn't actually played a game for the club yet, but if he's in the side, he's obviously doing the right things. So I think he will play most games this season. I think he'll have a pretty good season. He didn't have the best practice match though against the Hawks recently. So yeah, let's hope that he can have a stronger season and you put up some good form. Now for Essendon, this one is a little bit tougher, but I've gone with Jai Menzie. Now, Jai Menzie, I think he will crack into the forward line for the Bombers. He's a very, very strong player, and he was kicking the goals out the back against the Suns a lot, and yeah, he just looks like a great kid, and he can kick some rippers, he can do a lot of damage with Tip and Woody and Stringer, and yeah, I think they may have found their next Erasio Fantasia. And yeah, for Fremantle, you could argue this is not really one, but I think it might be. Caleb Sarong. Now, I know he's already a pretty classy player, but I think he's going to take the next step this season and really, really push to make the All Australian side even. I think he could be a surprise All Australian. The way he just racks up the midfield with Brayshaw, Brody, and O'Meara. And he's looked very, very good in his trial games, that's for sure. So Caleb Sarong, superstar. Think he'll take it to the next level this season for Freo. Now for Geelong, I've gone with Ollie Henry. Now I think he'll get games. I just don't know if he's going to get every single game. It's a stacked Geelong fourth line. They've got some great small forwards, and I think he's more of a deeper forward. He kicked 4 against Hawthorn, but had a quiet outing against the Lions. I feel like he could have some dominance, but then have a few inconsistent games from here to there as well. But yeah, he could make an impact and might do a Tyson Stengel, but who knows. Now, next for the Gold Coast, I've gone with Elijah Hollands. Now, I think he will get lots more games this season, and that's why I've gone with him over other Suns players. They didn't get too much draft picks. I think they did get Bailey Humphrey, but I don't see any other young kid from the Suns that hasn't already stand out this season, except from Elijah Hollands. That's why I picked him. I think he'll be a great player. I think he's big, he's a bulky mid, and yeah, I reckon he'll play a lot of games and do really, really well. Now, for the GWS Giants, I've gone with Tom Green. I think most people would know that I would go with Tom Green. I just think he's going to have an amazing year, and and really push for the surprise All Australian as well. Um, yeah, he's a great player, but he needs to stand up in a way in that Giants midfield. Otherwise, they just could have an embarrassing season, and he might not have that breakout season that I'm expecting him to have. Especially with lots of midfielders leaving the club. Now with Hawthorn, this is a little bit harder. Then again, it was kind of easy in a way. They have a lot of young players in their side. But I just feel like I can't really give it to a first year player that haven't even debuted yet. I'm gonna go with Will Day. He's being injected into the midfield. That's why they want the ball in his hands, Hawthorn, and I feel like if he's coming out of that defensive role and coming into the midfield, he could have a good season. And yeah, he needs to for the Hawks. He needs to, and he was all right against Collingwood. And I don't know if he did too much against Geelong, but yeah, he was all right against Collingwood, but maybe needs to take the next step. Come round one and future games. Now for Melbourne, I guess this one was a little bit tougher. I've got to give it to a young player, which means I can't give it to James Harmes, which is a little bit annoying because I would have given it straight to James Harmes. But I'm going to go with Jacob Van Ruin. I think he can get a game for the D's this season. I think he can play some solid football. Now, he hasn't debuted yet, but he's been on their list since last year, I believe. But yeah, I think he can get a game. It certainly will help that Wiedemann is gone, and yeah, he could well and truly play round one if he dishes up pretty good performances. Now for North Melbourne, I've gone. I mean, this one I could have given it to a few players really, but there was also a few players that I think will have a breakout season in their first season, and yeah, it was a little bit hard to pick North Melbourne player, but I've ended up going and look, this could be a completely wrong call, or this could be a fluke. Who knows? But I've gone with Aiden Boner, and yeah, he's a big defender at North Melbourne now, and changing positions last season. I think he can get some games. I'm not sure if he'll play a lot of games though, but I feel like he can have a bit of an impact when he is in the side, and yeah, just matter of time to see if Clarko picks him or not. Now with Port Adelaide, I've gone with I don't exactly know his first name, but it's McEntee from Port Adelaide. I think he can get games this season. I think he can push to really prove to be one of the better small forwards in Port Adelaide side. I think he will play this season. I think he will play round one, and yeah, promising signs for him. He played in their practice game, and he didn't kick any goals. His name's Jed McEntee. Forgot his first name, but he's still a pretty good player, and I still think he could play round one for Port Adelaide. But Francis Evans, who also did play quite well, could be on his spot, and with Fantasia back, could make it tougher, but who knows? Who knows? Now, with Richmond, I've gone with Hugo Ralph Smith. He had a pretty good season last year, in and out of the side though. But when he was in the side, he did a few good things, and I think he'll take the next step this year and become an even better player. It's just a matter of time to see if he gets games or not this season, or if he can be consistent enough. Like last season, he wasn't so consistent. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he can be consistent this year. Now with St Kilda, St Kilda in a bit of a mess at the moment. This one was a little bit tougher to go with, but I'm going to go with Mitch Owens just because he needs to stand up in that first half of the season, pushing him forward. He's a tall midfielder, but they're going to push him forward. I think he would have gotten forward time anyway, but actually as a key forward and see what he can do. And he's got a good jump on him, but he really needs to kick a decent amount of goals a game and really make an impact. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure about this one. I'm just going with him for the first half of the year. Um, but yeah, Sydney. Next, Sydney have been rattled with a few injuries recently, which could give some opportunities to younger kids. But I guess the young kid I'm going with, that I think will make an impact. This is a lot harder for Sydney because they've already got heaps of players that are breakout. But Braden Campbell, don't think he played in last year's grand final. He may have been the medical sub, but I feel like there'll be spots up for grabs, especially now for round one with injuries. And I reckon he can prove that he belongs in this side and, really, really push and maybe even go past Cunningham for that wing role and other blokes too that are lurking for that wing role. Sam Wicks, even Dylan Stephens. I feel like he's better than all of them, and I feel like he can have a better season than all them. Now with West Coast, this was fairly easy. Campbell Chesser. I mean, I can't give it to a first-year player, so there's only one option here in Campbell Chesser. He's going to play pretty much every game, I reckon, for West Coast. He may play every single game, and yeah, he's a real shot for the Rising Star as well. A bit of my Smoky to win it. They've been pushing him in the wing. They've been trialling him in a few spots, the Eagles, but I feel like he will be switching from defence to the wing a few times. But yeah, he might get some midfield time too. But yeah, Campbell Chesser, he's a great player, and I can't wait to see what he does. Now for the Western Bulldogs, I've gone with Sam Darcy. Don't know what his role is going to be yet. Don't know if he's going to be in the side. If he's a forward, he won't be. If he's a defender, well, he's got lots and lots of opponents like looking to get that spot. And if Sam Darcy can't get it, maybe he plays on the bench. And he's definitely a swingman, Sam Darcy. I'm not sure. I kind of like him up forward, but then again, that agility and height and speed could come in handy in defence for the Dogs. They've lacked a pretty big defender and a good one for some time. Alex Keefe normally gets the real strong one, but the more of the running, leading forward. So blokes like Jeremy Cameron and Eric Hipwood. Yeah, they're the type of guys they need to stop, and Sam Darcy could be the man to stop them. And Josh Bruce going back might be there. Liam Jones, who they got from the trade periods there. Ryan Gardner, who's out for minimum 2 weeks, I think. The first two rounds. So he may get a game over him. But Ryan Gardner, yeah, he's injured, but he's also a good chance to get it. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for the Western Bulldogs. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Basically, a quick video who I think will have a breakout year. And yeah, stay tuned for some more footy videos coming up on the channel as we get nearer to round one.